Hey guys, MD Prepper here. Bit of a review, more of a commentary piece of advice, I guess, overall. But was sitting around tonight, got home a little early today, and was thinking about what I want to do for my next videos. I've got plenty of ideas, of course, but want to do something a little different. And sitting around in my little room here, my library, if you will, study, where I do my vids, I got to thinking, about knots. Looked up and saw this little Handbook of Knots, a little handy box of knots that I got several years ago as a gift from one of my family members because, well, if you can tell from my videos, I got lots of stuff and I'm kind of hard to buy for, especially for Christmas presents, stuff like that. So I got this probably 2 years ago. Played with it very little bit and just put it on my shelf for some time later when I use it, and haven't used it a whole lot since then, really. We talk about how much cordage we have. We talk about, I've got so much 550 paracord, and I've got this, and I've got that, and I've got jute twine, and I'm ready for this and that. But honestly, how much do we talk about knots? Actual knot skills, knot tying skills, that sort of stuff. Not very often from what I've seen. This is not something that people go into a heck of a lot. Why not? I don't want to have to sit there in the middle of a high-stress situation and try to figure out how in the heck to tie a specific type of knot that's going to hold what I need. Now, I've got some fairly decent, I'd say, knot tying skills overall, especially when it comes to fishing line, fishing skills. Used to be quite the fly tyer back in the day, fly fisherman, so I can do a lot of different types of knots. Again, grew up on a farm, so I can do the basic stuff, but there's a lot of stuff I was thinking about tonight, old knots that I used to know how to do just off the top of my head that I've forgotten about, okay? I haven't done a nail knot in forever, and I could probably figure it out again off the top of my head if I sat around and fooled with it. I don't want to have to do that. I want to know basic knots when I need them. Best way to know knot tying is to have it kind of memorized, muscle memory, that sort of thing. I can still tie a perfection loop or a blood knot, just improve clench knot, those types of things from the fishing world. I can do those from memory. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to look at the line. I can just do it, and if I was a blind man, give me some cordage, I can do one of those, some fishing line, something like that. And I realized that, back in the day, I used to sit around when I was learning my early fishing knots and fly tying knots and all that. I'd just buy a cheap spool of fishing line, Big Lots or Walmart, somewhere like that, for a couple bucks, just some basic 10-pound test. And I would just sit around upstairs on an evening and turn some nice music on, something like that, and just tie knots. Just tie and tie and tie. And if I screwed it up, fine, I'd clip it off and tie some more. That's how I got good. That's how I actually learned to tie some knots. When I was out in the middle of a stream and, broke some line off or, tape or something like that, my leader, needed to do something with my tapered leader, tack some extra line, I could just do it. I didn't have to sit there and stress out. And I had those little thin plastic cards and all that, waterproof cards, laminated, etc., where you could pull them out and look, but you don't want to do that in the middle of a stream. You do that when you're early and a rookie, but once you've done it enough, you know what you're doing. I don't think the prepper community puts anywhere near enough, strength or knowledge or pressure, importance on knot tying. I just don't see a lot of that. Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of knots overall, but you need some. And this just reminded me of that, okay? This little handy book or handy box of knots, somebody got for me, I think it was at Barnes & Noble, somewhere like that. They're little individual gift boxes and all that for all sorts of little novelty things. They got this for me a few years ago. It was either my father or my aunt got this for me. I looked at the price on the back of this thing, $9. Well, $8.95, I guess, for a nice little box set, which I should have been using all along. I don't know what in the heck's wrong with me, but I'm going to be using this more. But again, I'm not specifically reviewing this particular box, but just something along these lines. You need a guide to tie knots. You may forget in some kind of bad situation or some kind of specific knot you need to look it up. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having to review things, but you're not going to necessarily have access to the internet and a power outage when you need to tie a knot to something for any number of reasons, especially not out in the field. Pull out your smartphone in the middle of a bug out situation and waste your battery. Nah, that's dumb. Just looking it up for how do I tie a such and such knot. This is a great little deal for $9, okay? I had this little plastic box that had all the rope in it, but that was all in the viewport there, but I can put all the rope back in if I need to. I didn't. Quick review, get your bigger, thicker kind of, rope, if you will. This is your rope size. So that's a decent length for tying most of what you need. Don't know exactly how much that is. I says probably about 2 feet, I guess. Next up, in no particular order, you got some smaller sized cordage there. It's a smaller size still right there. And I don't know if this is smaller or not. It's close. Anyway, comes with 4 sets of rope that you can sit there and play around with. But most importantly, comes with a guide. It comes with a little book about just about every type of rope or knot you're gonna, need to deal with, cordage, that type of stuff. It's got everything in it. It talks about the types of rope and twine. It talks about the history of rope and cordage, that type of stuff. And I'm not going to go into all of that here. It talks about the different types of braids, braid on braid, solid line, that just everything, synthetic, natural fibers, just everything, nylon, just on and on and on. Gives you nice little tips and facts and warnings and alerts. I'm not going to go into all that here. That's not the purpose of this book, or this review anyway, but it's the purpose of the book. It talks about, slip knots. It talks about triple overhand, double overhand, heavy line knots, fisherman's knots, water knots, just on and on and on. Different types of loops. Everything, just everything. Hitches, all your various style hitches. You need to know your hitch knots, okay? And there's tons more here than I've ever learned or even knew existed. Anchor hitches, bunt line hitches, rolling hitch, timber hitch, taut line hitch, square lashing, a way to lash things together to get a nice secure hold on things. Now, that you would certainly need if you're messing around with bushcraft and woodscraft. I just don't see much on that, and I don't know why. Why am I neglecting that? Why are the rest of us neglecting that? They even go into pretty decorative knots, okay? Plates and stuff like that. Look at that. That's nice. I'd love to learn how to tie that. I have no idea how to do so. Just on and on. And even in the back, it talks about how to store rope, how to wind it. Just basic philosophy of cordage, I guess. Never heard the term philosophy of cordage, but I'm coining it now. You need to practice this stuff, guys. Just like I did back in the day with my fishing lines. I just sit there, and I probably should have some fishing line sitting here, a monofilament, just an example, but here's some cordage, 550 paracord, that type of stuff. We need to be practicing these things, okay? You don't need just to keep the cordage around so it's indestructible cord going to be there forever. If you don't know how to use it, it's worthless, okay? Just like a medical kit. If you don't know how to use it, it doesn't matter. You got an over-under shotgun, lots of bird shot, you don't know how to shoot a bird on the wing, it's not going to be as useful, okay? You can have a bird dog sitting there, useful. If you don't know how to use him, it's worthless. We need to practice this more, guys. For $9 here, it's a great little kit, great little reference guide and all that. I should be practicing this stuff more, and I intend to. I don't know if I'm going to make videos on it, because I don't know how well that's going to come across, and I don't know how much of a teacher I am about knots, but it's something we need to worry about. Why are we not thinking about this? I have no idea. And of course, you can look anything up online that you need to, but practice it now. Practice it before you need it. I always found it somewhat frustrating early on, but kind of cool that, if I was out with my buddies or something fishing, I knew how to tie the knot. Give me that rope. I can tie that. I was, some of the line for the canoe or whatever the heck we happen to be fishing with that rotted out. Well, okay, well, I can tie another one. Give me some line. Good to go. I used to be able to do that back in the day, and I've fallen off. I'm still fairly decent. I'd say probably better than your average guy, I guess. But I'm not where I need to be. Anywhere near I need to be on knot tying. So, get a small knot tying book. Keep it around the house. Refer to it as you need to. Learn some new knots. Just have around. Again, even if you don't know everything in this book, well, if you ever need it, it's there. If you need some kind of new knot, gee, how do I tie these two things together? Let's go answer that question for $9. Got some extra practice cordage here. Again, obviously get yourself a hank of paracord for paracord uses. Don't learn to tie with this if this is what you're going to be using. And obviously you need some fishing line, a small spool for $1 or $2. Get your basic size that you're going to use and just mess around with it. Who cares? It's cheap. You ruin the whole spool messing around with knots. Well, good. Hopefully you learned something. So, a little rant of mine on knot tying and the philosophy of knots and all of that, cordage philosophy. I might make some other videos about this in the future if I can ever get good enough and quick enough to show you guys videos and stuff, but just something to think about. This is not something I'm going to be doing in the very near future video-wise, but this is something I should probably spend a few minutes on every day, or at least on the weekend. I got some downtime, we've had a lot of rainy weather sitting around, get tired of doing paperwork and catching up at the job. Tie some knots. Nice distracting. If you know what you're doing, it can actually be quite calming. Anyway, enough of my rant, which is really what this was. Indie Prepper, out.